Okay, well, we are back with our Valentine's Day panel here to talk about stocks that might be a good time for a long time. That was we talking about before the break. To the guests that you would put a ring on. Let's talk a little bit more about the long-term holds with our great panel here. Brianne Gardner, Laura Lau, David Burrows joining us. Maybe, David, I'll just start with you. When you're trying to think of a name that you want to be committed to over the long term, and you said you like that optionality as an investor to say buy from time to time, what generally are you looking for? What are the principles?
Well, we want to start out with a company that you can trust. One that has shown over time they've been through a lot of ups and downs, one that wants to continue to grow, one that is that continues to invest in itself. And so we really like JPMorgan as the absolute leader in the banking industry. The U.S. banking sector made a new high in 2020 for the first time since the financial crisis. JPMorgan made its first new high in 2013. So this is a company that is winning. Now, the opportunity is that there's going to be lots of consolidation in the regional banks as they go through their difficulties with real estate. And JPMorgan just happens to have these companies fall in their laps. Now, it's not by fluke. They invest $15 billion a year in technology. And so this is going to be a great company for earnings growth and dividend growth and a leader in financials, which tend to do well in a world of rising interest rates over time.
Just a quick follow, because we've heard so much about JP Morgan having this big muscle. Can investors sometimes overthink these storylines? You just hear all these pretty favorable comments about why it could be a long-term hold. Is it as simple as that sometimes?
I think you have to look at, what do you think can do well in good times? But what's proven that they've done well through all of the most difficult times? That's something you want to marry.
Okay. Now, we have an interesting development here in that Brianne and Laura have a similar pick as their long-term hold. So I'm just going to let our audience know what it is, and I'm going to let you both explain your views on this one. It's a pretty popular stock these days in technology, and it is Microsoft, which, by the way, had some rocky times in its relationship with investors in the past, but it has been, certainly over the last, call it half dozen years, an all-star. Brianne, why don't I start with you on why Microsoft makes it onto your list of stocks that you want to marry?
Yeah, certainly Laura and I have the same quality in partners that we look for. So looking at Microsoft, I see it as a great, stable business. It's dependable. I can trust management, and I think it's a long-term play for us. Even after seeing 60% return over the past 12 months, and last year having a strong rally, it's already up over 10% year to date. It has been 2023 was the year it participated in the AI boom, and we don't see really AI going anywhere. Microsoft did a $10 billion investment in OpenAI and participated in that ChatGPT as well, and has continued to develop that. We're also seeing the investment in Azure cloud computing, and also Activision Blizzard that is going to start paying off this year for Microsoft. So we see a price target around $450 on the street, but not to say that, we're going to see another 60% from Microsoft this year. But, I think we're, as David mentioned in the beginning of the segment, if you find a stock that continuously outperform bottom and top line from an earnings perspective, has 20% earnings growth expectations and 15% revenue growth expectations, it is a stock that we are committed to for the long run.
All right. You had reminded me momentarily, I forgot they just acquired a massive gaming company. That is, Laura, how big these Seattle players are. What is your sort of philosophy on Microsoft?
So I think Brianne did a great job. So what I'd like to add to that is, I said before, I'd like to marry something that's a monopoly, and I think Microsoft is a monopoly. Your PCs here, they all run Microsoft operating system. And then what do? Every year you renew. And then on top of that, you have Microsoft Office. So they don't really have any competitors. If you've ever tried Google Office, it's not very good. And then on top of that, what do? We layer on AI, Copilot. The other thing is Microsoft has the trust of businesses. Like, for instance, Amazon, they steal your data. Microsoft will not. And they'll compete with you. Microsoft will not do that. Microsoft will let you have your own instance of ChatGPT. And why you want that? Because you don't want personal data getting out, like credit card information. they will pay for that. And you have, I think it's one of the best places for AI because every year you get that subscription. It's an annuity. And it's just going to get bigger and bigger.
And then maybe David, a final word to you. So with these long-term picks, I mean, every company has a stumble here and there, might be short, might be even a little bit longer. And even as I was saying before, Microsoft had a few years there where people weren't quite sure. So how as an investor, do you sort of sit with those winners through those maybe momentary times of unease?
Listen, they have to continue to do what they say they're going to do. And ideally continue to outperform what they say they're going to do. We want companies that aren't promising the moon. We want companies that are delivering. And so when you go through difficult periods, you have to always scrutinize the holdings that you have to say who's actually following through. And these are the types of companies we're talking about here today, companies that have been very, very predictable in the way they deliver.